So, for all of you guys who are kind of watching my videos and everything, you'll know that I just did a VOD review for Fnatic versus TSM, and we kind of talked about where TSM failed, and I would say mainly that primarily they had difficulty with, I wouldn't say failed, I would say had difficulty with, because these are things that they have excelled in the past. But they did have some uncharacteristic things happening. The first thing we should talk about is TSM's vision control. So TSM is a North American team that is highly renowned for their high-level play, particularly regarding, I think, mid-game. I think that they are strongest in mid-game. I don't know that they are strong in an early game, though having superstars like Bjergsen and having seasoned players like Dyrus allows them to continue to compete regardless of any shortcomings and downfalls they might have in that early game. Wild Turtle, not known for being really the most aggressive laner, but certainly can be an aggressive player when he gets ahead. Can tend to go really crazy. Lustboy, very well contained. Systematic, thinks things through quite well. Very, very good players, each in their own individual respects. Santorin, relatively new player, to TSM at least. 17, 18 years old, I think. 18 years old. Yeah, he's 18. Challenger, though, both in EU and in NA. So, definitely a good player. Particularly, I think that Santorin was picked up for Bjergsen. I feel like Bjergsen didn't feel like he was part of the team environment on a personal level, and so they picked up another Dane, and that really helped Bjergsen out. Because in several interviews they really talk about that. I recently watched a video by Sky Williams kind of talking about TSM fans and who's upset about what's happening and everything. Now, a lot of people are upset with Dyrus's performance. Particularly at MSI and regarding the last portion of the Spring Split. But I'm going to have to agree with Sky on this one that I don't really think that that's Dyrus's fault. Well, not Sky. Sorry. Phone went off, threw me off. Santorin, there we go. Totally went out of whack there for a second. Santorin is relatively new. I don't believe he always played jungle. I think that he started out in a different position, but regardless, he never really he never ganks top lane, and the reason for that is because he's very synergistic with mid. The reason why he's very synergistic with mid is because Santorin and Bjergsen are not only from the same country, they're roughly the same age. They're around the same age. So it's not relatively surprising that Santorin and Dyrus both. So let's take a look at like their social aspects as players. This will be more of a psychological look into TSM. So if we take a look, Dyrus is kind of like, even if you ever watch Dyrus' stream or watch any of the videos, Dyrus is always off on his own. Always. Everybody knows that he's a little bit socially inadept, but I think that he's a great guy. I think that, he's been playing for a long time. He's very experienced. He can get out of hand sometimes, and I wouldn't say that he picks up on things the quickest, but he has the work ethic of a god. Like, that boy works hard. And it's really evident if you ever look at anything that he does. I mean, he plays a shitload of solo queue, even though he doesn't stream much. He's always nice to people in other regions, like just on a front face. It's just like when people like make fun of him or start to get in his face, he gets really anxious and it can get him upset. But he is a nice guy. Um, I don't think that there's anyone that can replace top lane for TSM. And the reason that I think that is because Dyrus knows the playstyle the best. Dyrus has been there the longest. He understands the game the most. So say we like replace Dyrus. Doesn't matter who we replace him with. Like 9 times out of 10, I almost guarantee you that that person is going to have double the deaths that Dyrus has, regardless of what's going on. So, I mean, Dyrus, despite his deaths, I wouldn't say that it's his fault. I also don't know that it's necessarily Santorin's fault. I think that it's probably a management issue, that they really need to work on their strategy a little bit more. Um, I don't think that Dyrus he's a great tank player. I don't think that he's a carry top laner at all. I would like to see him play some different kind of picks. I don't think that he's a great Hecarim player, but I think that like Vlad is something that they should explore. Um, there's just a bunch of different things that TSM could really do to support Dyrus a little more that they really don't. If you ever see Monte Cristo's VOD reviews, he talks about this a little bit as well. Just TSM is king of kill Dyrus. Like they just throw Dyrus to the wolves, and I mean, it's completely true. He gets thrown to the wolves quite a bit. Even socially, people like they don't defend him. People are like bench Dyrus, bench Dyrus, bench Dyrus, and they don't ever do anything. They don't ever say anything about it. They just kind of like are okay, like just ignore what other people are saying. So it's really unsurprising that Dyrus is pretty consistently anxious. I don't think replacing Dyrus would be a good thing for TSM to do. Um, I think if anything, Santorin should be the one that should be subbed, but I don't think that he should be subbed out either because he provides an interesting dynamic for the team, and he enables your superstar. He allows him to snowball. What it's going to take is time. Dyrus has been at this a long time, and I think as the meta continues to shift and we see the way that different things play out, that I'm hoping that the tank meta kind of goes away a little bit, because tank metas are always boring. Or that maybe they reintroduce Madred's Blood Razor. I don't know, something like that. I mean, we do have Pork now, which is great, but not enough. Anyway, that's just my personal opinion on the meta. But regardless, I don't think that... Like, I'm not a TSM fan. And it's not because I just don't like their playstyle. It doesn't have anything to do with them as people or anything like that. They seem like great people. I'm not like a TSM hater either. You know, I'm more indifferent. They're just teams that I would like. Most of the teams that I like, I like those teams, and then the other teams I'm just kind of indifferent toward. Like if they do that great, that's awesome. I'm a Western fan. I like Western teams. I like Korean teams too. I love Korean teams. I love GE Tigers. I love Prey and all those guys. I've been watching Prey since he was on Najin Sword with Kane. So I mean, long time ago. And I watch all the other regions as well. So I mean, I am a big Western fan, and I would like to see the West succeed, but I would like to see them do it in an honest fashion. I would like to see them win in their own playstyle, in their own state. I would like to see them outplay people. Even Faker recently said that the West was getting better. That he respected Western mid laners and thought that they were more mechanically skilled than Korean players. And I can honestly agree at this point. I would say that Zhao Wei Zhao, technically Chinese, but he's an NA mid laner. I I would say that Link is still pretty mechanically skilled, even though he's not a mid laner anymore. Soren, very skilled. Ryu, still very skilled, regardless of that Faker versus Ryu video. Ryu's still very skilled. I mean, I think that it's important in the League of Legends scene to establish some positivity. I think that there's a lot of negativity that goes into the scene, and so a lot of times I don't ever try and talk about what people do wrong and how we should hate them for it or anything like that, but what people did right. And even though that there are some shortcomings, that those are just things that people need to work on. Not necessarily things that need to get them benched, because I think that probably the biggest problem with League of Legends in general is that people are just replaced so fast. Like teams just roll through players. Like it doesn't even take them a whole year to make an entire roster change, and that's kind of sad. It's important to, especially because these guys are kids. They're like 17, 18 years old to a maximum of 25. And so they really need time to be able to develop, and they really need time to be able to learn. And I know that organizations, especially because esports is so young, wants to take some time, or like really wants to see results. But we need to take some time and kind of nurture these players into playing, and make sure that we take care of their emotional state. I really think that one of the reasons that SK was one of the most successful organizations when it was, and Fnatic as well, which is still a very successful organization, is because they have sports psychologists. Because they're there and they talk to their players, and they don't talk about loopy dreams or anything like that, like Thorn and all those guys allude to. What they do is they make sure that conflicts are resolved on a household level, because these guys, they live together. You know, they don't just play together, they live together. They spend all their time together. And they're not Korean. They don't play the game for 14 hours a day. They weren't raised in a completely controlled environment like it is in Asia, where it's extremely strict and disciplined. Like, when people say that Koreans are better than Westerners, it's not because of Korean work ethic. I mean, it is, but that's how Koreans were raised. It's a completely different environment than it is over here in the West, like in Europe and in North America. They don't raise their kids the same way that we do. And so it doesn't have anything to do with, NA and EU are lazy. Like, they're not lazy. It's just not the way that they were raised. They were raised to be like their own people. Not that Koreans aren't, I guess, but they were raised just to be, like, to explore many more avenues and do many more things. But that's kind of changing, because the East is kind of like becoming more influenced by the West, and the West is becoming more influenced by the East as well. Like, when now we like a bunch of Eastern things, like now we like League of Legends and things like that. Now we're very into mechanically oriented things, We're into the technology that they create, all those things, and at the same time they're into like all our movies and our entertainment. They love the fame and the art and all that kind of stuff. So I think that we'll see a healthy balance as things go through, or as things continue to change. I think that TSM, boy, I really went off track from where this video started, but I think that TSM should stay the course, that they're doing okay. I think that really what they need to work on is managing their players' attitudes. And that's what I would say, not just of TSM, I would say that of everyone, as a parent by CLG as of late, right? So I think that everyone should just work on taking care of their players and doing what's best for their team at the same time. But you really need to focus on taking care of these players. It's very important that you make sure that they're taken care of mentally and emotionally. Otherwise they will not be able to play this game at all. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, guys. Somewhat of a shorter video, but thanks for hanging out. And make sure that you like, subscribe, share, all that jazz, because I like talking to you guys. I'm not trying to monetize my videos. I'm just trying to put opinions out there and get people thinking, try and create a more positive attitude for the scene. So thanks for tuning in. See you guys on the Rift. Leave me your summoner names if you want. We can play sometime. And I'll probably make another video here soon. Probably do some more VOD review, I think. Really enjoyed that. So you guys have a good day.